good. So good.
So good?
So fun.
All right. Well, good deal. Let's carry off with that so goodness.
Wow, you're presenting today? Look at you. Holy cow, you got the George Moore belt buckle on? Loving it.
It's the same thing I wear every day.
No, you usually wear the white one.
Oh, no, I got that one too.
That 1978 disco.
It's the same brand. I got like 6 of those belts, so it's all good. It's all good.
Where do you get them at?
They're the mission belts. Come play in our golf tournament every year. So we've been having mission belts that sponsor all of our golf tournament. That's how I've got the belt. That's how George got the belt.
Being on the golf course.
All right. That's probably true too.
That's what my mom's right.
All right, let's go with Napoleon Hill. First, I know the ability to achieve the object by definite purpose in life. Therefore, I demand myself for continuous action towards attainment, and I hereby promise to render such action. Second, I realize the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Therefore, I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task and thinking of your personally intended to become, thereby creating my mind to future that person. Third, I know the physical law of suggestion, any desire that position hold my mind, or that exceed expression into practical means and intention on my back of it. Therefore, I will go technically command myself to develop self-confidence. Fourth, I am clearly down and determined by demonstrating the life, and I will never stop trying until I shall develop sufficient confidence towards its aim. Fifth, I have already realized that no wealth or position can long endure unless built upon truth and justice. Therefore, I will engage in no transaction which does not benefit all of the past. I will succeed by attracting myself towards the use and the cooperation of other people. I will use others to serve me because I know to serve others. I will eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, and selfishness and cynicism. I develop a love for all humanity. And I know that negative attitudes towards others can never make me sad. I will cause them to believe in me because I will believe in them and in myself. I will sign my name this formula, command it in memory, and repeat aloud once a day with full faith and will gradually influence my thoughts and actions. So I will become a self-reliant, successful person. Hoorah! Alright, 12 steps. This is program would follow exactly in a positive environment, guarantees 24+ transactions, and unprecedented personal growth and achievement. 1. I dedicate 1 hour a day towards building and protecting myself confidence. 2. I practice and internalize my self skills for minimum 1 hour each day. 3. I contact my sphere influence by mail, by phone, and or person, and by email quarterly. 4. I make 150+ contacts per week, 30+ per day, by phone or person. 5. I follow up on my each day. 6. I set enjoy being debt-free. I exercise daily. I enjoy helping my colleagues succeed. I eat healthy food. I'm a real estate expert. My employer expects me to be a real estate expert. I'm a professional. I'm financially independent. I increase needs on others. I have solutions. Prospecting is good for my business. I call expires to sell at others. Prospecting is easy for me. I enjoy going to the SY. People are attracted by the enthusiasm. I use technology to succeed. I get rid of the strong every holiday. I'm an outstanding salesperson. I'm a powerful agent. I know how to succeed. I can keep positive, exciting, fun, productive, inspiring, all the time. Yes! Good morning. Morning. Good morning. 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 A little white there, eh? All right! Woo! We got everyone in the house today. Morning. Morning. Hey, can you get that sign?
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning. I figured since Ruby finally got here, we could get started. So, we've just all been waiting for you.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind.
You know. How's everybody doing? It's a Tuesday.
Great.
We got cold, but it's a beautiful day outside. You know, that's one of the great things about being up here. We look the other direction. You know, I often forget how beautiful of a state we live in, and it's very easy to be reminded when you're standing up here and looking out of that as a viewpoint. It kind of puts things into perspective. How fortunate we are. So, anyway, gratitudes, victories. You got the person who can't talk right over here.
Yeah, you know, I've been going to see New York.
Is that your first time?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow. Just, it's like a different world. You know, being at Tony Robbins for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And experiencing that, and to see who we are, and to just experience such a different culture, meaning New York is a different culture.
Oh yeah.
Amazing though, right? I mean, it's so cool. But, you know, coming back and being so grateful to have people that show up in the morning and truly dive in to change, and to see how they actually do that, or are willing to do that day after day after day, and be exposed to the brutal truths of change. I'm super grateful for that.
It's awesome. It's great.
Make your move.
Make it exactly. I was one thing about New York. Anyone not been there? Have not been to New York?
No, I haven't.
Wow, I was expecting that many people to say that.
I've been to Tokyo.
Okay. All right. Well, that's definitely something that you should do. I find you're thinking with such tall buildings, you're like, oh yeah, I can't even go over here. But the one thing about it is every building's tall.
Yes.
You're walking around, you're like, okay, I know the Empire State Building is around here somewhere, but you can't see it. There is no way to go from one building to the next. You kind of go around a corner and you get a wider street, and you're trying to think, okay, I think there's a glimpse, and it could be the street right over. You're just like, okay, where is this? And it's interesting because, I mean, here you our Salt Lake. I mean, we've got nothing, but it is so huge, and all those buildings are around you, and the average building is probably 40 stories high or something like
You can't
that.
even see the sky, Rob.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's
So
that huge.
it's crazy. So
It's worth
Is anyone
going.
hearing The Godfather right now?
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's just like when he's talking about.
Always fit right in.
He does. That's right. That's right.
It's worth going just to see the Twin Towers. If you'll ever hear
Oh yeah, that's
But
hilarious.
the way things are now with the exposed little fountains that are there, it's pretty cool. Anybody else?
I'm grateful for health. My dad has Parkinson's, and he went to the doctor yesterday, and he said that he's doing really great. He hasn't declined in his health, and so I'm grateful for today's medical technology and the way they help everyone, and waking up healthy and being able to do everything. It's just, that's what you have. If you have health, you have your wealth, and you can do anything you want.
That's awesome. I agree. It's the little things that we take for granted, the things that are often given to us that we don't appreciate. You know, things you have to work for. Sometimes you often appreciate those more. In health, when we're given good health, it's when it's taken away from us when we start thinking, forgot about that.
I'm grateful to be back here. I took a couple weeks off. I made a change from Citywide to another Utah Community Credit Union, and this is actually the best meeting in town, happening at this hour each day.
Right?
Yep. You don't get it anywhere else. This is good stuff. So thank you for being able to participate, and hopefully I'll still be welcomed.
Absolutely. Sounds great. Okay. Had an interesting experience over the weekend. So this time of year, it's very rare that most people are not a fan of this time of the year. I mean, this is the holiday season. right now, this month, Thanksgiving, things to be grateful for. Our family, I don't know, 8 to 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, we started the best tradition that is out there. And we have our Thanksgiving dinner weeks before Thanksgiving. And you're like, what the heck? Yeah, I know. When you have several married families and going on vacations and certain things that happen, we had oftentimes many people that had to miss, and they couldn't be there one Thanksgiving dinner, whatever it was. And so years before, we decided, let's do it before Thanksgiving. So our family actually had our Thanksgiving dinner this last Saturday. And it's awesome. So now you got a Thanksgiving holiday, you can go on vacation, you can do whatever you want. It's just telling you, it's a great thing that's out there. But that's not what the experience was. The experience, we were just sitting down with family, and we started talking about several things, and my niece happened to be present, and I don't exactly know the reason why, but somehow the topic of the national anthem, saying the Pledge of Allegiance came up. And she happens to be a teacher. She's been teaching high school for 4 years, and before that she was teaching elementary for maybe 10, 15 years. And she happened to bring up that they actually say the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. And I was actually floored, because from what I could recall, somewhere there was a lawsuit that occurred that says, it's unconstitutional, you can't force this upon anybody, and they stopped saying it from what I could recall. And I was actually grateful that they continued to say that. And but I started to ask questions like, really? I thought there was a lawsuit. I get this lawsuit out, and all I'm getting is, it's being done. All I can tell you is we're teaching it every single day. We have to say it every single day. I'm like, okay, I'm just curious, and I'm trying to get out a question of just saying, really, when did that happen? I'm trying to have a simple question, and she was becoming so defensive, like I'm questioning that she's wrong to being able to have this, and I'm like, I have to say her by name, and she storms off and walks off. I'm like, whoa, come back here. And so I could not even ask the question, because I wanted to find out, really, when did this, so I started looking on the internet, because I can't ask a simple question of when this happened. Come to find out, it was in 2012, a bill was submitted in Utah that they wanted to mandate it again, but they can only mandate so much. So the law is, in elementary school, they say it every day. In junior high and high school, it's at least once a week they say it. You have the right to not participate. You just get a note from home, and you don't want to participate, they don't have to. But this was where I was just surprised that we even had this law that was up there. And I even went and tried to, I wrapped my arm around her, hey, just love you and all this stuff. She's like, I'm not apologizing. She's like, I'm just upset that I don't question your business, and you're trying to question mine. I'm like, I just had to take a step back. I'm like, okay, all right, enjoy it. We'll love you. We'll see you next Thanksgiving, I guess. But my point where I'm going with this is, the thought came to my mind is, how often are we in those situations where we are listening? Are we listening to understand, or are we listening to respond? And so that whole time, I kept thinking, I'm like, interesting. They're in a position where they want to speak, and we are this way too. When we're in a listing presentation, are we in front of our clients where we have to say something, and we want our client to understand what's being said? Or are we so focused on what we have to, our message that we have to get out, that we're not paying attention to what we need, what our clients actually need.
What'd you say?
I've totally forgot what I forgot.
That's why I sit in the back row.
The thing we know about here is we know that you're not ever listening to understand. So I just didn't even.
I rode my shotgun.
Exactly. How many times I always love this one, and I'm guilty of it, where we come in saying, hey, this is what our message is. This is what we do. I'm going to do this, this, this. This is what I will do. This is what I won't do. And I'm not saying we do have to have a strategy or a plan. But let's use the example of where our customer, our client says, well, do you hold open houses? And our response, yes or no. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Versus, if we truly understood what they're asking, well, that's a great question. Are open houses important to you? No, they're not important to me. I don't want to have them done. Great. I don't do open houses. I mean, if I were focused on my response, they asked a question, do you hold open houses? My response to their question, yes or no, versus what they really were trying to find out is, what type of an agent are you? What are the things that you do? And so do we focus so much on what we have to say versus what our client needs us to hear? And first we have to understand their position, kind of what they need, before we're in a position where we can respond effectively.
Wouldn't you respond by just saying what's important about an open house to you?
That's another great question.
I mean, that's where I would want to ask, just so I can follow where they're needing to go. Right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is, do you hold open houses? It's a great question. Are open houses important to you?
Yeah.
What about open houses are important to you? I just don't want a bunch of people coming to my house through my neighbor. Okay, so other than open houses, there are other methods that would be more important to you. Great, that's exactly why we're together, because X, Y, Z. You do that.
I just think sometimes with scripts, I got so into the scripts, I was actually asked on a phone call if it was like a real person. And I know Nick Manville had that, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So you really have to be listening, and it's even like, I've heard this, I haven't done it personally, thank goodness. They're like, oh, my grandfather died and we need to sell his house. The next comment is, oh great, when can we get together? And without thinking, you're just on this little robo mission to do what you need to do. You really do need to stop and listen so you can understand, have some empathy, be real, and figure out how you can help them.
One of the things that you're going down that line is be present. And I'm guilty of this. Is too many times we have our checklist that we have to do everything in the day. We have to get this done, this done, this done, this done. And we're so focused maybe on accomplishing all the tasks that we lose sight of where we are in the moment. And how many of us, not only guilty of being in that situation, but sometimes we're even on the receiving end, where someone comes and we need to talk to someone, or they need to talk to us, and you can tell that they're not present. Whether it be the visual aids, this happens to us all the time, right? Oh, Brendley, oh yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from, right? Oh, I mean, absolutely, gosh. I feel your pain. You're exactly the same thing you're going through.
Yeah, look into my eyes.
I mean, we are so guilty of that. And I'll tell you, the people that will have no problem letting you know how screwed up you are, and they're about this high.
That's true.
Right? My own son, because of their attention span, you have to tell them, hey, look at me, look at me. Well, now they are a master of repetition, right? Dad, look at me. Look at me. I'm listening to it. No, look at me. Grabbing on your arm. Look at me. Look at me. And they will not stop. They are the most persistent little buggers. And if you ever want to teach someone how to be persistent, not give up, Learn from a little 2-year-old, little 3-year-old. They will just continue. Hey, I want this, but I want it, but I want it, but I want it, but I want it. And it's a broken record, but I want it. I mean, it's what I'm hearing all the time. But think about it. They are just persistent, and it's still wrapped around their world, but they are so engaged in what's being done. But when we are truly not present, we're not in the moment, how difficult is it to do this? If we're thinking about just getting the paperwork signed versus what our clients need in order to make that happen, does our client feel what's happening? And this is in all aspects of it, on the lending side as well. I have certain clients that they've, when they are trying to find certain lenders. One lender, it was their entire staff, all they did, they sent stuff out, emails, they were never responsive. They just, like a checklist, they had to do so many things, but they never had a personal touch. So they decided not to go with one lender versus another. Or same thing that we hear about it is, well, I don't know, the agent was good. We asked a lot of the questions that were there. It was just, I just didn't feel like there was a connection. I didn't feel like they understood what I was trying to accomplish. Are we having that same challenge? John, you had a question?
Well, comment. Another way of saying this is listen to understand versus listen to be understood. And I'm so guilty of this.
I think we probably all are.
Last Friday, me and my wife were going out to dinner, and I was going to turn left, and she said, don't turn left here. So I stayed in the lane, and then that lane clears, and while it's clearing, I'm all sweetie, I don't know if there's a turn light in the next intersection. She's all, well, you can turn left here if you want. I'm all, okay. I stay there, and she's all, you can turn left here if you want. I'm all, well, I'm going to go straight. She's all, you can turn. I'm all, it's enough. I know, I'm not going to, but you can. Okay, now stop badgering me.
Okay. Those are the most important listing presentations you can be on, is the ones with your spouse, right?
Right. But then, so when we sit down for dinner, she's all, did you understand that you had an option? I'm all, well, yeah, but did you understand that I feel like I was being handpicked? It took us all dinner to figure out we weren't listening to understand each other.
Interesting.
Next time, turn left.
Could have understood everything really quickly.
So what's interesting is we talk a lot about communication, right? Especially recently, and we consistently put it into the camp of what do I say? Like, what words am I using and all this stuff to be a better communicator. We don't understand when you don't follow up with someone, you're communicating to them. Like if you're just listening to a response, what are you communicating? You're communicating lack of confidence. You're communicating that you don't have their interest in mind. All of those things. So we have to keep in mind that it's not just what you say, and so many times people hear you say something and they're like, what did you say? I'm gonna use that too. And they write it down word for word, and it doesn't work, right? So again, like even over the phone, if you don't have someone face to face, you're communicating a lot of stuff in everything. And it's not something that you can fake. You can't fake like using mannerisms, tone, all this stuff. So yeah.
No, there's all forms of communication. That's the stuff that is critical, because it's happened many times of when being on listing presentations, and I've heard it many times with George, where people are like, well, I've gone on a listing presentation with you, and it wasn't, you don't say anything special, because people are focused on thinking it's the words that matter the most versus all the other things that are involved. When you need to pause, before you respond or before you ask a question, the timing, your inflections, body language. I mean, does it say basically, say, get out of here, F off, whatever you want to say, or does it say, welcome in? From your tonality, all of those nonverbals that are part of communication that we lose sight of, and we think we're so focused on, well, I need to know what to say in order to have a successful presentation. When in reality, all of those other nonverbals are saying more than the words that are actually coming out of your mouth. And those are the things that are equally as important, and whether or not we actually take any time preparing for those. Did you ever say something, or other you guys raise your hand as well? So,
Rob.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure, because although I didn't come to hear you speak, but I also wanted to hear Linda Martinez speak. And the reason why I say that is just that yesterday I didn't get back to just hearing her takeaway from the Tony Robbins event.
Okay.
So if we I just would just love it if we got to hear what her takeaway. And I sent her even a video from my driveway this morning, letting her know that she would be picked on. So I just wouldn't want her to get away with not being.
Okay.
So I mean, but this goes right in line with it. I just would love to hear your takeaway. If we can take a minute of that, and then whatever you want to wrap up with. So.
Well, if we're going to embarrass you, Linda, we can't.
Right here.
Well, no. We're going to come on. We're going to get the full effect out of this. This is the whole Tony Robbins experience. You got to come right up here. Come right up here. We're going to, got to take full advantage of this. No pressure.
Okay, fantastic.
That is one of the best dancers I've seen at Tony Robbins, for the record. Aside from that, she's got other great talents.
My biggest takeaway from Tony Robbins was just how much we sabotage ourselves, right? And it was fascinating to watch him go into someone and peel back, right? Because whatever story you're telling yourself, whatever belief you have, there's something behind that, and there's something behind that, and there's something behind that. So oftentimes we just get stuck in this guide, and if we really just kind of stop whatever our day-to-day is and we go back to, okay, why isn't you're making your calls? Why isn't you're hitting the number of transactions? And it's fascinating because I went to Tony Robbins thinking I needed to work on, what is it I need to do to help my business grow, or where is that 2 millimeter mark I'm missing? And the reality is I found out it actually came back to like my family, and it came back to what's going on at home. And it was really weird because my mind was just like my business, and having that breakthrough that like, hey, if everything's okay at home, then everything's going to be okay with business. And I started going back to, okay, when was I at my best in this business? And I was at my best when things were going great at home. And it's not that it's, anything detrimental. It's just, it goes back to, it's my own beliefs, right? Because say, I'm a mom, I have 2 little ones, and the story I keep playing is, I'm not there enough for them. So if I'm not there enough for them, then I can't be, I can't be present in my business because all I'm thinking is I live in this guilt of and I don't have that focus. So that was fascinating because I really took this belief of like, I can't be successful because of this, but the reality is I can do something because of this reason. And to go back to the core and realize like, okay, here's the reality, fix that, and tell yourself that's not true, and then you change your state and you move forward. And the last thing that just kind of like blew my mind, and everyone will take what they take from that event, but he talks about, he made the comment like, when you raise your energy, you raise your level of consciousness drastically, right? So when your level of consciousness is raised, then you get into a position of caring, like you care, right? Because your energy is high, your level of consciousness is raised, so now you care. And when you're positioned to care, then you start to serve. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is crazy, because here I'm thinking, I'm like, that's so true. When we're in a bummed down state and we're sad, we're not higher energy, we're sad or we're upset or whatever that may be, we're telling ourselves these stories, so we're in a low conscious state, and then we don't care for anyone but ourselves, it's about me, and then in essence we don't serve. But this business has always been and always be for me like serving. and purely, and I'm fascinated by it because, you know, it's like being born and raised in the community that I was raised in, and like having this goal, like, and of educating those, you know, of low income, of, you know, first generation immigrants, whatever that may be, like that being my mission, and be like, I need to serve these people. There's so many people out there that they don't know. There's so many people that would like to be educated. They have no idea that the day of tomorrow they can have keys in their hand. They just don't know. So that's when I go door knocking, that's what's in my heart. So people feel that. So, you know, when people, you know, ask, you know, what is your success as an agent, or how have you gone from here to here? And, you know, the first thing I always tell agents is like, you got to go back to your heart, right? It's really in your heart, because people feel that in an instant. So those were my takeaways. And to end this, I highly recommend you go to Tony Robbins, because the first time I went, that was something else, right? And like George said yesterday, it's pretty cool. Like you'll grow from it, but you'll never go back to the same person you were afterwards. And this time when I went, like the first day, I remember the first day kind of being a blur, because all I was thinking about the first day was the fire walk. Last time I went. But this time, it was like, I couldn't write fast enough, and I thought, and on one of my pages, like I did like rip it, because I was just going so fast, and one of the other agents, he's at Centerville, Brian Curnow, he was like, I wanted to raise my hand and tell Tony to like stop, and like, wait, I have a question about that or something. I'm like, I felt the same way, like I couldn't write fast enough, and he would always make side comments that were just so powerful at the same time. So I'll leave you with that, and thanks again, George.
Awesome. Thank you. I just want to say, am I the only one who thinks Linda should do like a morning ascent on her experience at Tony Robbins?
Oh gosh, I think she just did.
Am I the only one?
I just did, yeah.
So, hey, just real quick.
No,
So, when you
great.
first came here to the company, you had sold how much real estate?
3 homes.
And you will sell this year how many homes?
I'm on track for 30, so we'll see.
30?
Yeah.
So you learn how much?
I think it's 230.
230,000. And you were where before this?
Equity.
All right, that's all I needed from that.
And I did think
So,
I was
so you
the-
did save a lot of money on those 3 transactions. That's the good news.
That's good.
I'm always fascinated with the focus of scarcity versus abundance. How much can I save versus how much could I do?
But I will
And
say, when I was sitting with Lindsay, because, I don't know if anyone knows, but I'm like so hardcore loyal. So being at Equity, I'm like, no, I'm going to show you guys that you can be a top producer here. And I'm just kind of like, shh, let me be. And one time I'm sitting down with Equity, and at the same time, I'm Lindsay, I'm like listening to Grant Cardone. And Lindsay just makes a thing like, well, are you more concerned about making money or saving money? And I'm like, well,
Put it that way.
making money, but like, what's it to you, you know? And then I thought, when I drove home, all I'm thinking is like, what money am I gonna save? I don't have money to save. So, so that kept playing in my head, right? So then it's like, okay, let's just get this done. This is ridiculous.
I'm fascinated. We're moving into the market right now, right? Where to save 5 or 10 or 15 grand, whatever people think they might be saving. I always wish that everyone was like Leslie Thorpe. You know what she does, Paul, when she comes to my office? I just wish she was making you more money. I'm like, why will not everybody come into my office and say that?
I feel guilty.
Oh man, I wish everybody had that attitude. I could go, or it could be Aaron, I could go save myself 5 grand, put it into internet leads, the lowest quality of lead possibly.
Yeah.
I don't forget those conversations, just for the record. I'm like an elephant who never forgets.
I know.
So,
That's one thinking, I agree.
so I don't know if Rick did, but but it's all right. I hijacked your meeting, but thank you, Linda.
It's all good. Be present.
But but we'll have Rick share maybe tomorrow. Let's do that. Or you're doing, who's doing book club?
Well, I'm going to have him do it because
no.
I'm not sure I'm going to survive it.
Or maybe Thursday. So,
You'll have your
and
voice.
tomorrow obviously is usually
I
a
can
recap
call
of the
him
summit,
today.
which is today, right?
You'll be ready by Friday. I'll let you speak on
Yeah,
Friday.
I can tell you.
Hot tea.
Yeah, I've been doing that. And yeah, thank you. But yes,
Good.
I'd love to share.
Awesome.
So,
Well, I'd say let's end on that high note that's there. So, any other thoughts? Okay.
Thanks, Rob. That was awesome.
Okay, closing affirmations. I succeed because I have my goals. I'm an optimist. I like talking to people. I know what's important to me. I remember people's names. I have a plan and I follow it. I'm passionate about real estate. I know consistency is my greatest tool. I like asking questions and listening. I enjoy reading to improve my sales skills. My thoughts lead my emotions, action, results. I focus on my dreams daily. My presentation is powerful, persuasive. I improve my skills daily. I am happy. I love the prospect because it feeds my business. I see my future is awesome. I love my life. I am grateful to people. I control my meeting. I believe in me. I am outstanding. I use my team's competency daily. I get things done. I am I make more money. I thank people. People love me. I love others. I am disciplined, accountable, and daily schedule. I prospect daily. I set appointments daily. I'm a master persuader. I achieve my goals. I am a real estate rockstar. I am passionate about my life. I live every day with purpose. I am confident in myself too. I know my destiny. I'm healthy and strong. I'm powerful. I'm unstoppable. I keep positive. Yes! Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good
That either means I didn't slap you hard enough.
That one was set up. Yes.